Have you ever felt that someone in your life drains your energy like an emotional vampire? Today we're going to explore 10 signs that will help you recognize those toxic people who, without you realizing it, could be ruining your happiness. The last sign will surprise you. At the end of the episode, I'll share several practical strategies to deal with these people and reclaim your emotional well-being. Before we begin, if you find this content helpful, I invite you to subscribe and hit the bell to stay in the loop. Are you ready? Let's start with sign number 1, the great manipulator. First on our list is the great manipulator. Have you ever felt like someone is controlling your emotions as if you were a puppet in their personal play? This character is like an emotional puppeteer, manipulating your feelings with a skill that could put the best magician to shame. But don't worry, today we will learn how to break those invisible strings and regain control of our own lives. Manipulators are true masters of deception, experts in using subtle tactics that often go unnoticed. One of their favorite strategies is emotional blackmail. They make you feel guilty for not doing what they want, as if you were responsible for their happiness. If you really loved me, you would do this for me. Sound familiar? Another common tactic is blame shifting. They can make you feel responsible for any problem. If something goes wrong, somehow, it's always your fault. It's as if they are experts in making others feel bad about themselves. But that's not all. Manipulators are also experts in distorting reality. They can deny facts that clearly happened or exaggerate situations to fit their narrative. It's like living in a movie where the script is constantly changing, and you're the only one without the script. A recent study published in the Journal of Social and Personal Relationships revealed something interesting. People who have been in relationships with emotional manipulators often suffer a decrease in self-esteem and confidence, which can last for years after the relationship has ended. It's as if the manipulator leaves a toxic mark on our minds. However, all is not lost. The Stoics, those wise men of antiquity, had valuable ideas on how to deal with manipulators. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote, "The best way to avenge an enemy is not to become like him." In other words, the best defense against a manipulator is to maintain your integrity and not fall into their traps. So how can we apply this Stoic wisdom in our daily lives? First, practice mindfulness. Observe your emotions and the strategies others use to influence you. When you feel that someone is trying to manipulate you, take a step back and ask yourself, is this feeling really mine, or am I being influenced? Second, set clear boundaries. Don't be afraid to say no when something doesn't align with your values. Remember, you are not responsible for others' happiness at the expense of your own. Third, strengthen your self-esteem. The more confident you are, the less vulnerable you will be to manipulation. As Epictetus, another great Stoic, would say, no one is truly free who does not govern themselves. Finally, practice empathy, but with limits. Understand that manipulators often act from their own insecurities and fears. However, understanding them does not mean accepting or tolerating harmful behavior. Sign 2, the relentless critic. Now let's move on to the second sign. Have you ever felt that no matter what you do, it's never enough? Welcome to the world of the relentless critic, that inner voice that seems to have a knack for finding flaws. But don't worry, today we'll learn how to silence that voice and regain our confidence. Imagine for a moment that your life is a reality show, and the relentless critic is the harshest judge on the panel. No matter how well you do, they always have something negative to say. Well, it wasn't bad, but is their favorite phrase. It's as if they have a radar to detect imperfections, no matter how small. This internal judge not only criticizes your actions, but also your thoughts, your appearance, and even your dreams. Do you really think you can achieve that? Is their favorite question. And the worst part is that, over time, you start to believe them. But here's the reality. This relentless critic is nothing more than a creation of your mind, fueled by past experiences and future fears. It has no real power over you unless you give it to them. The problem is that, like a virus, this critical attitude can be contagious. I've noticed that when I spend time with people who criticize everything, I start to adopt the same attitude. It's like when you travel to another country and pick up the accent. Imagine someone from the south of Spain spending time with a northerner. They would end up speaking with a different accent. Marcus Aurelius, that wise Roman emperor, had something to say about this. Do not be disturbed. All things follow the nature of the universe. In a short time, you will be nobody and nowhere, like Hadrian and Augustus. In other words, don't let the opinions of others affect you so much. In the end, we are all stardust. But how can we apply this Stoic wisdom in our daily lives? First, recognize that you are more than your achievements or failures. Your worth as a person does not depend on what you do or fail to do. Second, practice self-compassion. Talk to yourself as you would to a good friend. Would you tell your best friend that they are a failure for making a mistake? Probably not. So why do you say it to yourself? Third, surround yourself with people who support and motivate you. Remember, you are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you surround yourself with relentless critics, you will become one. But if you surround yourself with people who see the best in you, you will start to see the best in yourself. Fourth, practice gratitude. Instead of focusing on what you lack or what's wrong, take a moment each day to appreciate what you have and what you've achieved. And finally, but not least, remember that walking away is sometimes the best option. If there's someone in your life who constantly criticizes and makes you feel less, it's okay to put some distance. Your mental well-being is more important than pleasing others. Now we'll address the third sign, the narcissist. When the world seems to revolve around them, or at least that's what they believe. Do you know how to identify a narcissist? Don't worry, they'll tell you themselves. In fact, they are probably already announcing it to the world, on social media, and on any reflective surface they can find. Narcissists are like human suns, bright, warm, and charming, until you get too close and get burned. They are experts at attracting attention, always ready to talk about their epic achievements or lament how the world doesn't appreciate their greatness. But what's behind that appearance of supreme confidence? Psychology tells us that narcissism often hides deep insecurity. It's like they wear a shiny suit of armor to hide their weaknesses. The traits of narcissism are like a tasting menu of toxic behaviors. First, there's the lack of empathy. To them, your problems are trivial compared to their daily drama. Then, there's the constant need for admiration. If you're not praising them, are you even paying attention? We can't forget their sense of grandiosity. Their achievements are always spectacular, their talents unmatched. And of course, manipulation. They can twist any situation to come out as heroes or victims, depending on what suits them best. In interpersonal relationships, narcissists are like emotional vacuums. They suck up all the attention and support, leaving others emotionally drained. It's like trying to fill a bottomless pit with your energy and affection. But wait, there's more. In the age of social media, narcissism is having its heyday. A recent study from the University of Michigan showed a 30% increase in narcissistic traits among young people in the last decade. Instagram, TikTok, and other platforms have become the perfect playground for digital narcissists. Imagine a world where every selfie, every post, every story is an opportunity to feed that insatiable ego. Social media has created an environment where constant validation is just a like away. It's like we've built a narcissist factory without realizing it. However, all is not lost. The Stoics, those wise men of antiquity, had valuable ideas on how to deal with difficult people without losing our integrity. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher emperor, wrote, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." So how can we apply this Stoic wisdom when faced with a narcissist? First, practice emotional detachment. Observe their behavior as if you were a scientist studying an interesting species. Curiosity, not judgment. Second, narcissists are like children in adult bodies. They need firm but compassionate boundaries. Don't be afraid to say no when they cross the line. Third, strengthen your self-esteem. The more confident you are, the less their manipulation tactics will affect you. It's like building an emotional shield against their drama. Finally, practice compassion from a distance. Remember that behind that facade of greatness is a deeply insecure person. This doesn't justify their behavior, but it can help you maintain perspective. Now let's move on to number 4, the silent saboteur. When your success becomes their failure. Imagine for a moment that your life is a spy movie. You're the protagonist, chasing your dreams and goals. But there's a secret agent of failure operating in the shadows, placing obstacles in your path when you least expect it. This is the silent saboteur, an expert in the art of subtle sabotage. These saboteurs are like emotional ninjas. They move stealthily, leaving a trail of doubts, insecurities, and obstacles in their wake. They could be that friend who always finds a reason why your business idea won't work, or that family member who constantly reminds you of your past failures just before an important interview. Their tactics are as varied as they are insidious. They can spread subtle rumors that undermine your credibility, withhold crucial information for a project, or even directly sabotage your work when no one is looking. It's as if they have a secret manual titled, "How to Ruin Others' Success Without Being Noticed." But why do they act this way? Psychology gives us some clues. Deep down, this behavior often stems from deep insecurity. Others' success acts as a mirror, reflecting their own perceived fears and failures. It's as if they think, if I can't succeed, no one else should. Envy also plays a significant role. A recent study from Harvard University revealed that people with a high tendency for social sabotage often experience elevated levels of envy and low self-esteem. It's as if they see success as a limited pie. If you take a slice, it means less for them. Additionally, sabotage can be a twisted way to maintain control. By keeping others in their place, the saboteur feels they preserve their own position or importance. It's a desperate strategy to feel superior in a world they perceive as threatening. In the face of these agents of failure, Stoic wisdom offers us a powerful shield. Epictetus, one of the great Stoic philosophers, left us a valuable teaching. It's not things themselves that disturb us, but the opinions we have about them. What does this mean in the context of silent sabotage? It means that the real power is not in the saboteur's actions, but in how we choose to interpret and respond to them. It's as if we have a secret superpower, the ability to choose our reaction. So how can we apply this wisdom in our daily lives? First, cultivate self-awareness. Learn to recognize the subtle signs of sabotage. Does someone always have a discouraging word when you share your plans? Do you notice that a certain person always seems to be around when things go wrong? And second, keep your focus on your own goals. As Epictetus would say, keep your attention focused on what depends on you. You can't control others' actions, but you can control your response and determination. Before moving on to the 5th sign of toxic people, if you're enjoying the episode, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the podcast with the bell so you don't miss future episodes. By the way, according to statistics, only 5% of those who watch my episodes are subscribed. So if you value the work I do and want to support me, subscribe now with the bell and join that wise minority. And if you enjoy this type of content as much as I do, comment, "I love wisdom." Let's keep learning together and improving our lives. Sign 5. The obsessive controller. Have you ever felt that someone is trying to manage every aspect of your life as if you were a piece in their chess game? Welcome to the world of the obsessive controller, where your freedom is always at risk. Imagine for a moment that your life is a dance. You want to move freely, express yourself, enjoy the rhythm. But there's someone who insists on leading the rhythm, who criticizes every one of your moves, who tells you how, when, and where you should dance. That's the obsessive controller in action. These people are like orchestra conductors who have lost the sheet music. They try to control every aspect of the lives of those around them, from the most important decisions to the smallest details. You should dress like this. You shouldn't hang out with those friends. You have to do things my way. Sound familiar? But what drives this behavior? Psychology offers us some answers. Often, this need for control arises from deep insecurity and fear of chaos. It's as if the world is a frightening and unpredictable place, and the only way to feel safe is by controlling everything and everyone around them. The impact of this behavior on relationships can be devastating. A recent study from the University of Michigan revealed that people in relationships with obsessive controllers experience stress levels 50% higher than average. It's like living in an invisible cage where your autonomy and self-esteem are slowly eroded. Obsessive controllers have an arsenal of tactics. They can use guilt as a weapon, making you feel bad for making your own decisions, or they can resort to subtle manipulation, presenting their desires as if they were for your own good. "I just want what's best for you," they say, while pushing you toward the path they've chosen. But all is not lost. The Stoics, those wise men of antiquity, had valuable ideas on how to maintain our inner freedom even in the most difficult circumstances. Epictetus, who began his life as a slave, once said, "No one is free who is not master of themselves." This teaching is like a key that unlocks the cage of obsessive control. It reminds us that although we cannot control others' actions, we always have the power to choose our own responses and thoughts. So, how can we apply this Stoic wisdom when faced with an obsessive controller? Here are some practical techniques. 1. Practice assertiveness. Communicate your ideas and desires clearly and respectfully. Remember, your voice and opinions are valid. 2. Cultivate your self-esteem. The more confident you are, the less power controllers will have over you. 3. Seek support. Surround yourself with people who respect your autonomy and encourage you to be yourself. 4. Practice emotional detachment. When someone tries to control you, take a mental step back and observe the situation objectively. Remember, you are not responsible for satisfying another person's need for control. Your freedom and autonomy are fundamental rights that deserve to be protected. Sign 6. The compulsive liar. Have you ever had the feeling that someone is telling you an elaborate lie? Welcome to the intriguing world of compulsive liars, those storytellers who transform reality into their own canvas. Imagine for a moment that you're in a conversation and someone tells you a story so fantastic that it makes science fiction movies look like documentaries. That's the hallmark of the compulsive liar. They are capable of inventing stories so complex that they could embarrass a Hollywood screenwriter. But why do they lie? Psychology offers us some interesting clues. According to a study published in the Journal of Social Psychology, compulsive liars lie for a variety of reasons: to avoid conflict, to impress others, or even to maintain a distorted image of themselves. It's as if they live in a parallel reality, where they are the protagonists of a movie only they can see. The problem is that they drag others into their imaginary set. Now, detecting a liar isn't as easy as TV shows have led us to believe. No, my friend, not all liars avoid eye contact or touch their noses when they lie. In fact, a study from the University of Michigan found that expert liars often maintain more eye contact than honest people. Surprise! So how can we identify these masters of deception? Pay attention to inconsistencies in their stories. Compulsive liars often struggle to keep their lies consistent over time. It's like they're weaving a web of fiction, and sooner or later they get tangled in their own threads. Another clue is the lack of specific details, or the overload of irrelevant details. When someone tells the truth, they can generally provide concrete details about their experience. Liars, on the other hand, tend to be vague or, paradoxically, overwhelm you with unnecessary details to distract you from the lack of substance in their story. But it's not all negative. The Stoics, those wise men of antiquity, had an interesting perspective on how to deal with liars. As the philosopher Seneca said, "Truth is braver than a lie because a lie always fears being discovered." In other words, the best way to deal with a liar is to stay true to the truth and your own values. So how can we apply this Stoic wisdom in our daily lives? First, cultivate honesty in your own interactions. The more we value truth in our lives, the easier it will be to detect lies in others. Second, practice compassion. Often, people who lie compulsively do so out of insecurity or fear. Understanding this doesn't mean you should accept their lies, but it can help you respond with empathy instead of anger. Third, set clear boundaries. If you identify someone who lies constantly, it's important to communicate that you value honesty and that repeated lies can damage your relationship. Finally, remember that you can't control others' actions, only your response to them. As Epictetus, another great Stoic, would say, "It's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." Sign 7, the emotional chameleon. Have you ever felt that your life has become an emotional roller coaster? Welcome to the confusing world of the emotional chameleon, where every day is a new adventure, and not always a pleasant one. Imagine for a moment that your friend Carlos is like a box of emotional chocolates. One day, he's sweet and charming. The next, he's bitter and distant. And on the third, he's an explosive mix of flavors you didn't even know existed. Living or working with an emotional chameleon is like trying to navigate a stormy sea with a map that constantly changes. These emotional chameleons are experts at keeping everyone around them in a constant state of uncertainty. One moment they're euphoric, celebrating life as if they've won the lottery, and the next, they're plunged into a depression so deep it seems like the world is ending. And the worst part is that this change can happen within minutes, without warning. But why are they like this? Psychology gives us some clues. Often, behind this emotional instability lie untreated personality disorders, unresolved traumas, or simply a lack of skills to manage emotions. It's as if their emotional thermostat is constantly broken, unable to maintain a stable temperature. The problem is that this erratic behavior can create an environment of constant stress and uncertainty for those around them. It's like living in a house where the furniture changes places every time you blink. You never know if you're going to sit comfortably or fall backward. A recent study from the University of California revealed that people who live or work with emotionally unstable individuals experience 40% more daily stress and are 30% more likely to develop anxiety. It's as if emotional chaos is contagious, spreading to everyone nearby. In interpersonal relationships, the impact can be devastating. Imagine trying to build a relationship on emotionally shifting sands. One day, you're the love of their life. The next, you're the source of all their problems. This emotional roller coaster can leave people feeling confused, exhausted, and questioning their sanity. So cultivate your own emotional stability. The more centered you are, the less you'll be affected by others' fluctuations. It's like being a rock in the middle of a turbulent river. Sign 8, the professional victim. Have you ever met someone who seems to have a PhD in blaming others? Welcome to the exhausting world of the professional victim, where everything is the universe's fault, except their own. Imagine for a moment that life is a big board game. We all roll the dice, move forward, move back, win, and lose. But the professional victim plays with a completely different set of rules. For them, every bad roll is a cosmic conspiracy against them. These masters of lament have a special talent for turning any situation into a personal tragedy. It rains on their day off. Clearly, the weather has something against them. They didn't get the promotion. It must be because the boss hates them. Their coffee is cold, obviously. The barista has a personal vendetta against them. It's as if they live in a movie where they are the misunderstood protagonist, and the rest of the world is the villain. The problem is that in their quest to be the perpetual victim, they end up becoming the antagonists of their own story. But what lies behind this constant need to blame others? Often this behavior is rooted in low self-esteem and a deep fear of failure. It's easier to blame the world than to face our own limitations and mistakes. It's as if they have an invisible shield that deflects all responsibility. It's not my fault, it's just that the world is against me. This phrase is their mantra, their shield, and their sword. The impact of this behavior on relationships can be devastating. It's exhausting to be around someone who constantly plays the victim. It's like trying to fill a bottomless well with your empathy and support. A recent study from Stanford University revealed that people who tend to blame others for their problems are 30% less likely to achieve their personal and professional goals. Not surprising. It's hard to grow and improve when it's always others who need to change. Remember, it's not things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. This is like an antidote to the poison of victimhood. It reminds us that we have the power to choose how we interpret and respond to events in our lives. So, how can we apply this Stoic wisdom when faced with a professional victim or when we ourselves fall into this trap? Here are some practical techniques. 1. Practice personal responsibility. In any situation, ask yourself, what can I do to improve this? It's more empowering than looking for someone to blame. 2. Change why me. 2. What can I learn from this? This simple reorientation can turn obstacles into growth opportunities. 3. Cultivate gratitude. It's hard to feel like a victim when you focus on what you have rather than what you lack. 4. Practice empathy with limits. Understand that behind victimhood lies pain, but don't feed the cycle of complaints. 5. Use humor as a tool. Sometimes a well-placed joke can help put things in perspective. I think the universe has better things to do than conspire against us. Sign 9. The reality denier. Have you ever met someone who lives in their own reality? Imagine for a moment that life is a big movie set. Most of us follow the script of reality, improvising now and then, but the reality denier believes they're the director of their own surreal movie. These people are like perception wizards. They have the amazing ability to distort reality to perfectly fit their own narratives. If the facts don't match their worldview, they simply rewrite them. It's like they have a magic pencil that erases and rewrites reality at will. But what drives this constant denial of reality? Psychology gives us some answers. Often, this behavior is a form of self-protection against uncomfortable or painful truths. It's as if these people have built an elaborate emotional house of cards and are afraid that the slightest breeze of reality will knock it down. A recent study from Stanford University revealed something surprising. People with a tendency to deny reality experience higher levels of anxiety and depression in the long run. It's as if, by constantly trying to escape the truth, they lock themselves in a prison of their own creation. The impact of this behavior on relationships and the social environment can be devastating. It's like trying to play a game where the rules constantly change according to one person's whims. Friends, family, and co-workers can feel confused, frustrated, and even manipulated trying to navigate this shifting reality. But the real danger lies in allowing someone to constantly distort our perception of reality. It's like someone putting virtual reality glasses on us that show a completely different world. Over time, we can lose our moral compass and sense of truth. So how can we address this issue? This is where the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher-emperor, comes to our rescue. He wrote, "If it's not true, don't say it. If it's not just, don't do it." This teaching is like a beacon in the fog of denial. It reminds us of the importance of seeking and accepting the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Marcus Aurelius teaches us that truth, though sometimes painful, is the path to freedom and inner peace. It's like taking bitter medicine that ultimately heals us. He would say it's better to face reality, no matter how difficult, than to live in a comfortable but false illusion. So how can we apply this wisdom when faced with a reality denier, or when we notice denial tendencies in ourselves? Here are some practical techniques. 1. Cultivate a love for truth. Make the search for truth a fundamental value in your life. 2. Practice self-awareness. Observe your own tendencies to deny or distort reality. 3. Seek multiple perspectives. Don't stick to just your version of the facts. 4. Accept uncertainty. Reality is often complex and ambiguous. It's okay not to have all the answers. 5. Be compassionate, but firm. When dealing with a reality denier, offer support, but keep your feet on the ground of truth. Sign 10, the envious one. We briefly mentioned envy earlier, but now let's delve deeper into this fascinating topic. Envy, my friends, is the last sign of toxic people we'll explore today. Envy is like a silent poison that corrodes relationships from within. Imagine that person who always has a snide comment when you share good news or who downplays your achievements with an, "Oh, you're so lucky." Those are the classic symptoms of toxic envy. But why are some people so prone to envy? Psychology tells us that envy often stems from deep insecurity and a sense of inadequacy. It's as if these people live in a world of scarcity, where others' success automatically means their own failure. But here's the interesting part. Envy, in a way, can be a sign that you're doing something right. As Oscar Wilde once said, "Speaking ill of others is the revenge of the unsuccessful." Think about it. No one envies someone who isn't achieving anything. This brings us to a phrase I love, which fits perfectly at this moment. No one above you is going to criticize you. People criticize those who are above. Isn't it fascinating? It's as if envy and criticism are an inverted barometer of your success. So, how can we handle others' toxic envy without falling into their game? First, recognize envy for what it is: disguised insecurity. Second, don't let it stop you. Your success is not an insult to anyone else. As Epictetus would say, don't seek to have things happen as you wish. Wish for them to happen as they do, and you will be happy. In other words, the best response to envy is to keep improving, keep growing, keep shining with your own light. And finally, remember that your worth doesn't lie in being better than others, but in being the best version of yourself. It's as if envy and criticism are the price of admission to the Success Club. It's not a pleasant price to pay, but it's preferable to the alternative. Imagine a life where no one envied or criticized you. It sounds peaceful, yes, but it also sounds like stagnation. Remember, you have the power to choose who you spend your time with. It's time to take control of your life, value your peace of mind, and surround yourself with people who inspire and uplift you. Don't be afraid to set boundaries and distance yourself from toxic relationships. Your well-being is the most important thing. If you've made it this far, write emotional well-being in the comments, so I'll know who made it to the end of the episode. Don't forget to give it a like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more content like this in the future. Share this episode with those who might find it useful, and consider supporting the podcast by becoming a member. Now listen this episode on habits for a longer and happier life. Don't miss it to continue improving your well-being and enjoy more valuable advice.